Hello guys, so in this video I would like to discuss with you how to finish initial ancient rifts without having any legendaries or Starforged gear. This is mainly for you guys that are just finished the spatial bypass quest chain. We are not going to focus on just one specific ship build, but rather I would like to give you some guidelines which you can apply to any ship in your initial runs. Just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and follow my channel for more content like this. So after finishing the quest line, which enables you to open ancient rifts with the spatial bypass in the initial run, you will be able to open rifts with any spatial bypass point and choose difficulty setting via the lunacy level. The difficulty does rely on your gear and attributes of the ship, but also on the overall playstyle and your skill level. So this is what we want to discuss. In order to finish an ancient rift successfully, you will need to consider the rift structure, detrimentals that you get when you jump from one stage to another, and the devices and consumables you have taken with you on the adventure. Namely, if you didn't successfully finish the initial ancient rift, which may be possible but not always, I will explain the ancient rift structure a bit. As the ancient rift consists of 4 stages, 3 stages in which you are fighting waves of enemies, and naturally these enemies get a bit more difficult with every stage, while you are also facing the chosen detrimental effect of the stage jump, which can be enemies leaving corrosion fields, enemies that explode, dealing area damage on death, enemies that repair over time, enemies that don't have names or get additional speed and health or health regen and others. So this will be a random specific choice for every rift, for every stage jump, but more importantly, final stage is a boss fight with a more or less stationary big redeemer enemy and waves of incoming smaller ships that try to foil your plan, distract you, and if you destroy the redeemer, regardless of the smaller ships, you will finish the rift successfully. So knowing this, you should prepare. Select a number of pilot perks, which I am not going to go into details, as the pilot perks depend on the ship you are using and the build you are using. But rather I would like to talk about the ship devices and the ship and the consumables that you carry on to your adventure. The important thing is that you take devices that you are comfortable using very often and consumables that fit your playstyle to get you out of a tight spot. So what does that mean? You should have a healthy mix of offensive and defensive devices and consumables. So for example, my favorite devices, usually the EMP generator, then the second would be the missile defense system, when I have a legendary item that has a symbiotic connection with this device, or else I would take, for example, Annihilator virus, then the temporal nano recompensator to help repair your armor when you are in a pinch, and which is a support device. It's a defensive device. And another support device, the Avenger front shield generator with the Mastery Avenger that blocks shots and blocks them back to the attacker, which means it does also do some damage for you. So these are my favorite devices that I am comfortable using, but also the consumables. So for example, here I have an energy shield, which is good when you are getting sniped by the snipers. You put on a shield and you can take 1 or 2 sniper shots before you start taking the damage again, but an alternative would be the nanobots or another nano injector, a consumable that helps you repair half hit points. So these are the defensive alternatives. In the offensive department, I would recommend strongly the damage booster, as it will increase damage output of your primary weapons by 40% for 20 seconds. That is an amazing boost. And another one of my choices is an energy injector, which instantly recharges weapon and boosts energy, and increases the energy core output by 100% for 10 seconds. So it allows you to at the same time boost and fire your weapons, and you won't be spending almost any of your energy, as the output of the energy core is plus 100% for these 10 seconds. There are some alternatives, like the nano repair that repairs random damaged equipment, or a cloak field, or system recovery that removes debuffs. But again that is according to your playstyle, and these are my recommendations for your first runs. So you need a strong defensive. Energy shield is a strong defensive. Strong offensive, damage booster, pretty straightforward. So be mindful to use your devices when they are on cooldown. With the consumables, you have to be a bit more conservative than with devices. Devices will refresh on cooldown and you can use them again, but consumables not so much. So again, talking about the Ancient Rift structure, when you are on the final 4th stage of the Rift, you will be facing the Rift boss, and depending on your ship and build ability to deal damage, you may be able to take out the Redeemer boss very quickly, or if not, then it could become a prolonged fight for your life, which is why I would like to give you some tips from my personal experience regarding the primary and secondary weapons and the consumables. So I would recommend strongly to save at least one shield, one energy consumable shield, for the Redeemer boss fight. Also at least one damage booster or more, that depends on your playstyle. But also you should have some information regarding the primary and secondary weapons. So your primary weapons should consist of an energy based weapon that is good at taking down the shield of the boss, and the kinetic weapon that does more damage to armor and hull hit points. So when you enter the final stage, first always lock on the boss, then start with the energy weapon, and once the shield is gone, swap to the kinetic weapon and fire until either the shield of the boss restarts or the boss is dead, taken out. But we also need to talk a bit about secondary weapons. If your ship allows it, your secondary weapon choice should be, in my opinion, the dumbfire rockets. Mainly because these rockets will help you take out big targets that move slow, and particularly the Redeemer boss, much faster, combined with your main weapon compared to not just firing your main weapon. Also, if you can only take one type of secondary weapon, then I would strongly recommend rockets, as you have usually you have around 200 rockets, and you can use them on the bigger targets in the stages, and you will have at least 50 rockets for the last boss to finish him quickly. Then again, if you have 2 slots on your secondary weapon on your ship, while you can notice that you can carry only 5 of them, also be mindful that they are slow. They are mostly useful for taking out the capital ships. Once you fire a cruise missile, as you may blow yourself up. Again, on the last stage, be mindful to use all of the appropriate devices and consumables, because after you get out of the rift, any spent consumables will be refunded to you for free. So there is no no negative effect to using consumables inside the rift. I must stress how important this is. Many times in a rift I was actually trying to save my consumables and end up not using some of them at all. All the while, if I did, it would speed up my run or actually help me not fail a rift. So using your consumables is a boon. Don't spare them too much. Of course, again, I would recommend having at least 1 energy shield and 1 damage booster for the last stage boss. To conclude, with your initial Ancient Rift runs, your ship attributes are only half of the story, only part of the means to the success. And while you don't have any legendaries, and you probably are low on even on the purple ones, and have mostly blues, your timely usage on the devices, as well as your consumables, will make the difference between failure and the success. And if you are able to use your devices appropriately, of course, and the consumables, I am sure you will be able to finish 1 to 3 steps higher Ancient Rift difficulty than without using them. So for this test, I have prepared my striker. It is a tier 4 ship, but I have a bunch of blue gear, and even more so, the stats on the gear is really garbage. So you can see that, okay, firepower is 3.6k, but precision is relatively low, and all of the other stats are very low, very low. So this is not far from an optimal setup. Still, let's do a rift run and showcase how it should be done. So after you finish that initial rift run as a quest, part of the quest, your spatial bypass will be able to open a rift run and Ancient Rift, and you can choose the lunacy difficulty. So with my Vindicator, gunship and some other ships, I can choose maybe 500, but for this test and with such a low attribute score, with the striker, at most I think I can do 100, and that is about the same, I think, to you having a relatively good combination of gear at your first Ancient Rift. No legendaries, maybe a few purples, and mostly blue rare gear. So let's see how I repair. Here are some snipers. The game knows I love snipers like no other ship in the game. They take me out always. Button. The screenshot button should default out of the default position. I press it quite often. So I did use one defensive and one warfare device so far. Did not use any of the secondary weapons. No need. Let's see how bad is this blue laser, pulse laser like. Okay, nice. Let's see what else. Okay, 90% almost done with this stage. Okay, nice. Stage is done. So the first stage is always the easiest. No need to spend any consumables here. And now we can choose the detrimental for the next stage. Enemies deal area damage upon death. Enemies drop mines. These are those that I don't really like. No way around this, I have to take one or the other. Okay. Swap to the energy weapon. Put my shield up. Go with the offensive. Okay, nice. I need to put some distance between me and the enemies. So I don't take damage from their explosion. Oh. Shield up. Secondary weapons. Nice. Going to them. Fire EMP. So I didn't use much my virus device, yes, now. Front shield, deflect enemy fire. Virus, so they take more damage. Okay, nice. Still didn't use any consumables. Enemies slowly repair their crown. Okay, and the other enemies hit point bars are hidden. Let's take the enemies that slowly repair themselves. See my side. I'm gonna use a shield now. It's getting a bit tight in here. My defensive, my offensive. Maybe I was too early with my nano recompensator. We need it now. %. Well, we can use the ultimate. Get some hard damage on enemies. Good time to use the both defensives. Got my armor back up and the front shield does wonders for some types of enemies. Okay, we have a sniper. Snipers. Almost done, just a little bit more. Use the ult. Okay, done. Let's see. Still have 2 shields for damage boosters. Shield and health and armor are almost full. This should be easy now. The last stage boss stage. Cooldowns are ready. Swap to an energy weapon. Swap my weapon to cruise missile. Secondary weapon cruise missile. block the target. Fire a missile. Fire another. Swap to kinetic weapon. Get your shield up. Swap to rockets. Done. I guess this last stage is always a bit easier than the rest of the Rift with their snipers and stuff. Usually. Later in Rifts past 500, even the last stage can be tough. Especially if you don't have enough consumables and the enemies are really powerful. So that's it more or less. Those are the tips and the tricks I wanted to show you, to explain. Be sure to use your consumables, be sure to use your devices. Even if you don't have an optimal build, even if your starts are all over the place, just with your skill and using the appropriate device or consumable in the right time, you will be able to finish your first rifts. Later, of course, you will acquire a specific playstyle regarding the ancient rifts and your specific ship build. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, then do follow my channel, and see you in the next video.